Greetings, everyone. This is Tom Vogel, Wrestling's finest PC game. Our next video tonight is going to be a continuation of the previous two I recorded. Those were number 17 and number 18, where I discussed, kind of long-winded. However, a lot of stuff to go over, but they were the in-depth rating analysis of two single wrestlers. Believe we used Abdullah the Butcher and CM Punk, if I remember correctly. Tonight's video is going to continue on this, except now we're going to do tag team rating. And for this, we are going to choose two tag teams. First one's going to be the Road Warriors, and then the second tag team will be Butch Reed and Junkyard Dog. And you're going to see the reason why I picked each of these teams. Before we get into this here, I just want to show you something here. Just wanted to mention, look at all the tag teams Wrestling's Finest has to offer. We do it in alphabetical order by the first name of the team, the team's name or wrestler. So you'll see, like here from the great Memphis area, you got Bill Dundee. He actually has 4 tag teams. It could be 5 if somebody has a in their name. But anyway, I just did want to show you all the teams that are in the game. I think we're getting close to 500 maybe. But here you'll see I highlighted the Road Warriors, and we're going with the heel team. And then we're going to go Butch Reed and Junkyard Dog. So these are going to be the two teams we analyzed during this video. Alright, so we have the match all set up here. Now, what I would advise is, if you have not watched video 17 and or 18, you might want to go back and watch one of those, or preferably both of those first, as this kind of continues on what we talked about there. So I might be able to shave some time off the lengthy videos I did before. So here we have our two teams. Pretty much everybody knows the Road Warriors. They're the heel team. Here, Butch Reed, Junkyard Dog, for those WWF or E fans, whatever it's called. Butch Reed was the natural there. And then, of course, you had Junkyard Dog. This tag team is rated on their Mid-South run back in, what year it would have been, 83, 84 maybe, 85 possibly. But anyway, so like I mentioned in our previous videos, if you click the name here, Road Warrior, Hawk, and Animal and Hawk, their card will come up. And in the last video, we went through all the different ratings here and kind of what they mean. But what I want to point out mainly on this video is we're going to focus on the tag team. Now, here we have, you'll see, first of all, I want you to jump down tag team pin number ratings. If the Road Warriors get pinned, the computer will determine which of the Road Warriors was pinned. And in this case, Road Warrior Animal gets pinned if the number is 1 to 30, and if it's 31 to 40, it will be Hawk. So Animal seem to take the majority of the pinfalls for the Road Warriors, so that will be reflected here. 3 very important ratings I want to go over on this screen, and the first falls under Wisdom, and the first one, 7. Same thing in the singles matches. You have each wrestler is allowed so many strategy cards prior to the match, or as my brother calls them, the luck cards, because they are randomly distributed. I think there's 10 or 11 different type strategies, and each one has so many cards, I guess you would say, in the deck. But Road Warriors get 7 of these strategy cards, which is the most a tag team can have. And reason that is very important, the high number, is very, very important in tag team matches are the outside help card. And the outside help cards can be used 3 different, or really 4 different ways. You can call for outside help anytime during the match. I mean anytime, other than pin or submission. The second way you can use it is if you want to call for outside help during a pin or submission. We have 2 separate charts that are used. One, if it's a pin or submission attempt, because uh, very high probability you're going to get disqualified at that time if it's used during a pin or submission. The other chart is if you just want to call for it, at any time other than the pin submission during the match. The third way is you can use an outside help to use your manager's card. And then the fourth and final way, which is very, very important in a tag team match, is to call for your partner to help break up a pin attempt. That's how the strategy cards, if you don't have an outside help card, then you wouldn't be able to call for your partner to help you during the match. So again, it's kind of luck of the draw, but the more cards you get, the better chance you have of getting outside help. Now, if you let the computer control one or both tag teams, I call them Vogue, then the computer will decide when it's appropriate to call for your partner to try to break up a pin. You don't want to use them if your pin rating's real low, because you don't want to waste them. You want to try to save them as long, kind of like timeouts in basketball. You want to try to save them when, I don't want to say toward the end, because in a wrestling match you never know when the end is, but you basically want to save them when your pin rating's very, very high. So, that's the first one I wanted to point out. The second two are the tag team rating. You'll see in the first box, Road Warriors is 35. That rating is based on out of 35. I think the lowest you can have is a 25, or it might be 26. Can't remember why we came up with the 40, why the 35, because it's basically the numbers go up to 40. It's based on a 1 to 40. I think that's why I used it. But they are as high as you can get. That number is huge. That number is used when you go to the double team chart. It helps your effectiveness, and the higher that rating is, the better the tag team is for, just as an overall rating. The 8, you'll see right next to it, that's actually the double team rating. The 35 rating that I initially talked about, that will actually determine the result when you call for your partner to, will also be used when you call for your partner to help during a pin attempt. The higher the number, the better chance you get are able to break up the pinfall. Lower number, that 35, if it's lower, it just means you're not going to have nearly as good success. In wrestling's finest, teams that were together a long time have a very high rating. The point of it is, not saying that there weren't teams that didn't have short runs together that did well, but for the most part, teams that stayed together, like the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, the Four Horsemen, and if you want to go back to the 60s and 70s, you have like the Dusek Riot Squad, you have the Kalmakoffs, you actually have like Larry Hennig and Harley Race from the AWA, Pat Patterson, Ray Stevens. Those teams were mainstays for a long time, and we want to make sure that these mainstay tag teams have the advantage like they should, because they were tag team specialists. They teamed together for years and not just months. We tried with Wrestling's Finest to go and rate lots and lots of tag teams from the territory days that maybe had not teamed for a long time, but when you're running a territory, it's nice to have the options of having multiple tag teams to choose from. John and myself are just slowly started rating some more tag teams, mainly from Florida, but that's for another day and another topic. But again, that first number is huge. The second number, again, that's based out of 10. And I think the lowest is probably a 5 or a 6, and then, of course, the highest is a 10. There are not a lot of 10s in the game. Mainly your heels are an 8 or a 9, and your faces are typically a 6 or a 7, maybe an occasional 8. 8 is a very good rating. That is going to dictate the frequency of your double teams. Again, the first rating comes into play, when you're trying to tag in and out. Just kind of an overall guide how strong they are as a tag team. But you'll see a huge difference between, you know, a team that's a 35 and say a team that's a 31. Big, big difference. So what I'm going to do is jump out of these guys real quick. I'm going to show you Butch Reed JYD. Now, on their card, you'll see Butch Reed gets pinned 1-29, and Junkyard Dog gets pinned 30-40. Now, since they did not team together very long, they only get 4 strategy cards. That is huge. Very, very, very big deal on that one. Their tag team rating is a 27, which is not real good, and their double team rating's only a 6. So even though Butch Reed and JYD were excellent single wrestlers, I mean, very, very good, they, you know, I'm not saying they were a bad tag team, but they don't stand the longevity test. And if they did win a title, you know, they probably didn't hold it for very long. So they will really be at a disadvantage when they're facing a team like the Road Warriors or the Briscoe brothers or the Andersons. If you look at their pin rating, 26, 23, 3 is excellent, but it probably won't compensate, you know, if you're to do a series of matches here, you know, based on that tag team rating down there at the bottom of 27, and then the double team is 6. Double teams are very important in Wrestling's Finest because you typically maintain control much easier if you double team, and you take a ton of stamina off your opponents. That is huge. In tag team, you'll see the stamina ratings are higher because there's, you know, basically 2 guys. I think the highest is maybe 130. JYD, Butch Reed are 112, which isn't bad, but those points can quickly go away when you have a double team because, you know, it might take off like 25, 30, or even 40 points. So let me X out of here, and we're going to go back to the Road Warriors. Their stamina, the one chink in the Road Warriors' armor, is their stamina is 100, which is not very good. If you can get the Road Warriors to, you know, hang in there with them for a while, you might have a shot. But again, one of the highest rated tag teams in the game. You know, the 7, you can't be any higher. The 35, you can't be any higher. And then we have an 8 here, which is, you know, very good rating. So let's go on here. We'll go into control. Everything here is identical to what we talked about in video 17 and 18 for the singles wrestlers. You know, we hit the strengths and weaknesses of every team, and you'll see here at the Road Warriors, notice the 58-66 for body slam. They use a lot of power moves. You won't see, you know, you see pinholds, you know, a few spots down, 79-80. They're not going to use a lot of that. If you could go back up to the middle there where it says body slam, kind of in the middle of the card, you'll see a -2. Some tag teams and wrestlers will have a minus number. I think it goes up to maybe a -3, possibly -4. That's an adjustment that will be made to the other team's counter to a body slam. So if their counter says a 10 against the Road Warriors, it would only be an 8. And that's to reward teams that were, you know, or wrestlers that were known to be super strong. And for those that, you know, follow the current product, somebody like Brock Lesnar or Braun Strowman, or Mark Henry, you're going to see they're going to have an adjustment rating like that too. So when I look at the Road Warriors, I see body slam, suplex, you know, just big power moves. These guys are tough, they're mean, they're nasty. If you go into legal holds, one thing I want to point out, a lot of whip into ropes. But look at here, their power moves 19-28. That's probably one of the higher ratings you'll see in the game. Lots of stamina off. Lots of, if they do a power move, they're going to stay in control from 1-37. And their counter's 18, which is very high. And then they're also going to get a chance to pin their opponent if the number from 19-28 is a 26, 27, or 28. You don't see a lot of arm moves, throws, drags, leg holds, neck holds. You're basically saying whip into ropes and then power moves. You do see a leg drop. I know Hawk liked to use that. And I do want to mention that Wrestling's Finest tag team, the ratings are based on the team as a team. We combine the 2 ratings into 1 rating. when Wrestling's Finest came out as a tabletop game, when you would take two wrestlers that, like say Butch Reed and Junkyard Dog, you would actually have their cards in front of you. Each one is a single, and Road Warriors would have been represented by two cards, one for Hawk, one for Animal, and the wrestler ratings were on 8.5 by 11 sheets. So you had a score sheet and 4 wrestler sheets plus your fast action cards, and it just took up way too much tabletop space, and it was just a pain in the ass to try to figure out who was in the match for each team at any given time. And that system just made tag teams not that fun. So what we decided to do was combine the ratings when we created the tag team for the PC game. And I know, people would like to have individual cards, but I think it works very well because they are rated as a team. And I'm going to show you a few situations here where that comes into play. You cannot randomly pick tag teams. I know people would like to do it. I'm not a fan of that. To me, that's fantasy booking. You couldn't stop somebody from, say, teaming, Bob Backlund with, the Sheik. They never teamed in real life, and, Wrestling's Finest is not a grins and giggles game. And, if you want to play, role play or fantasy games, there's some other, fine games if that's what you're into out in the market, but Wrestling's Finest will not have that. Wrestling's Finest also does not have 6-man tags, only because it just never was introduced when we first created the tag team for the computer, and now it'd be really, really hard to do so. And to be honest, I would rather just rate regular tag teams for our territory replays. There really weren't a lot of regular 6-man tags. You had the Von Erichs, you had the Russians, you had the Horsemen a little bit, the Freebirds are probably, one of the best maybe ever. But there just weren't a lot of regular 6-man tag teams. They were kind of more thrown together, now and then, for feud stuff, but we just don't have those in Wrestling's Finest, and wouldn't ever hold your breath for it because you'll get mighty blue if you're waiting for it. So let's go here quickly into illegal holds here. Same thing here for the Road Warriors. If you look, mainly you're going to see punches and you're going to see choking. Again, the big power moves, lots of stamina off. This is a very tough team. Very tough team. Specialty moves. Okay, now you'll see an AB, A, B, TT, and then AB. Let's go back here. A for this team is Animal, and B would be Hawk. We put them in order here. So if you go to the specialty, the AB means either one of these wrestlers could do that move. A means it was a move by Animal. B means it's a move by Hawk. The foreign object AB, either one could use a foreign object, and I'll get to the TT in just a second. So if you have a match ender where a power slam was the move to win the match, well, you'll know Animal was in at the time. If it was a B, it would be Road Warrior Hawk. If it's an AB, then it could have been either one, and we're actually working on a way maybe where we can come up with a system that will tell you who was in the game or during the match if an AB comes up, but I haven't exactly figured out how we're going to do it. Here's what I really wanted to show you. It's called the TT. That's a tag team move, and it's the Road Warriors Doomsday device, and if I remember it correct, it was when Hawk would fly off the second turnbuckle. I don't think he came off the top. Maybe he did, but he'd come flying off as Animal held the opponent. It was either in a bear hug or on his shoulders, and Hawk would basically just take his head off. And it was called the Doomsday device. I believe it's the most lethal tag team finisher in the game. You'll see it's 25-24-2 there under the RPAA. That means you're going to add 25 to the opponent's first pin number, 24 to the second, and 2 to the third. This is another very important rating for tag teams that did have these special match enders that, it was basically a double team sort of a move. A lot of your teams from the 60s, didn't use them, but I think it became more popular in the 70s and 80s. And, so many teams had, like spike pile drivers. I know the Midnight Express with Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey, and then Stan Lane had a couple different tag team finishers. You had the Rock and Roll Express, had the double drop kick, which was rated very, very high in the game. So all kinds of, teams did have the, the double team moves. I believe Sergeant Slaughter and Don Cornudo had the Slaughter Cannon as a double team, similar to the Doomsday, actually, where they'd hold the guy up, and I believe it would be Slaughter would just, again, practically take his head off. Not quite as well as Hawk would, but still a very, very effective move. So when you're looking at a tag team, the TTs are just dominating moves in most cases. Now let's take a look at Butch Reed and Junkyard Dog. Going to go control here. They actually get a -1. The Road Warriors had a -2 for body slam because both Butch Reed and JYD, very strong wrestlers. And again, you'll see they have high body slam numbers. A lot of stamina, 10 offs, pretty high. Suplex, good numbers there. Again, not a lot of finesse with these guys either. They're very well rated. They're a very strong team, except again for this 4. That's just going to kill them in this match. And then the tag team 27-6 isn't good. If you go to the legal holds, you'll notice they have 5 power moves. I believe the Road Warriors had 10. They're going to work the arm a little bit more, like the whip ropes. They also like the headbutt. If we go to the illegal, they like to do the choking, but again, they're mainly going to punch away too. Now, if you go into their specialty moves, you'll notice B is the clothesline, and in this case, it's Junkyard Dog. Headbutt is Junkyard Dog. Big thump power slam, very good move, is Junkyard Dog. And then you have A, which is the power slam by Butch Reed. And then you have the shoulder block where he would get on the second rope, I believe, or second turnbuckle and come flying off with a very devastating shoulder block. But you'll notice the Road Warriors had that 25-24-2 for the Doomsday. The closest you're going to have here is Junkyard Dog with the big thump, 20-18-0. And that is a very highly rated move, one of the better ones, better finishers. But it's not even close to the Doomsday device. So in this case, the team of Reed and Junkyard Dog, as you look here, there's no TTs on here. It's just individual moves because they did not have a tag team, what we call a tag team finisher. And that's mainly because, again, they did not team up a lot together. They were more singles wrestlers, and they had a short run together. I want to go show you something here. I keep harping about the strategy cards. Let's just click action here to get things going. That's our... anyone who thinks the Road Warriors does not win this one is not living in the real world, because they're just a much stronger rated team. But here, if we go to the strategy cards, let's look what they got. They can stop a DQ. They can leave the ring, get a breather. They can make it to the ropes. They can counter a strategy card played by the opponents. They got another ropes card. They have one outside help, and then they can go outside the ring if they want to take the action out there. Now, the 7 cards are actually real good cards, but they only got the one outside help. So that means they only can break a pin attempt up one time. So we're going to cancel this. Let's look at what Reed and JYD. They can stop a DQ. They can stop a second DQ. They have an outside help card, and then they can actually go to a specific specialty hold card. So even though they only got 4, they got some pretty good strategy cards here. I still like the Road Warriors better because they actually, received 3 more. So, but, in this case, each team can only call for a pin breakup one time. I'm I'm going to give you a little peek here behind the curtain here. This video is going to go a little long. You know, if you're bored, you can always exit out. But I wanted to show you something here. This is the partner save on pin submission attempts. And remember, I was talking about the tag team ratings, that first rating. And if you remember, the team of the Road Warriors had a 35, which is as high as it can be, the TTR rating. Look at here. If they can call for outside help, nothing occurs if they turn a 1 to 3. The count continues. Partners attempt to save his partner stopped by the other team. Continue the pin submission check. That's a 4 if you turn that. Here you have partners able to break up the pin submission attempt. Go to original control. That's 5 to 38. Partner's interference causes his team to be DQ'd, 39, and both teams enter the ring. The war is on. Ref DQs both teams. You have to turn a 40. So look at this. You have 3 numbers, 4 numbers, 5 numbers, 6 numbers. So 34 numbers out of 40 basically are going to be the Road Warriors would be able to break up the pin attempt. I mean, that is a huge, huge strategy card to have. Now, if your opponent has the counter strategy card, they could counter you trying to run in to break the pin up. But, you know, let's say you have 3 outside help cards. I mean, look at the saves you can make if you think your partner's in real trouble. Now, here, I want to show you here, look at the team of Reed and JYD. From 1 to 20, look, the Road Warriors are 1 to 4, but 50% of the time, Reed and JYD are not going to be able to break up that pin. They're only going to break it up from 21 to 38. So they have a 50% chance of not being able to break the pin up, where the Road Warriors, if my math is correct, have a 10% chance. They only have 4 numbers that occur. So this is why it's so important when you look at tag teams to look at the ratings. And even here, between a 35 and a 34, there's still 2 numbers difference. So they have basically a 15% chance of not being able to break it up, where the Road Warriors are 10. So huge difference, even just 1 number. But when you take the team of JYD and Butch Reed, you're going to see why they're at a disadvantage here. You know, again, if you do have the game, you know, play very, very close attention to that first tag team rating for each team. All right, here's your final look underneath the hood here. I'll let you go here, but this is our double team move chart. Right, I'm showing you one for the heels. I know this won't make a lot of sense to you, but I just wanted to basically show you, here's the double team rating of 1 to 6. That's what JYD and Butch Reed are. And then you look at the Road Warriors, they're an 8. You know, now again, this is the heel chart, so they are a little bit different. But as you go through this chart, the team that has, the charts are pretty much the same. It's just the frequency that's going to have a double team chance come up. A team that's an 8, they're going to get to this chart a lot more than a team that's a 6. I do want to show you this down here. If you read this one here, using a series of quick tags, wrestlers keep opponent in their half of the ring. Wrestlers are able to double team and tag in and out freely. Tag rating of 20 to 26, it's minus 20. 27 to 20, I guess what that is they're going to have, it should be a 27 to 29, sorry, it's minus 25 to the opponent's stamina. 30 to 32, it's minus 30 to the opponent's stamina. And if it's 33 to 35, it's 35. So if this result would come up for the team of Butch Reed and JYD, since they're only a 27, they're going to take 35 off. But the Road Warriors, being a 35, are going to take 35 off. And since they're going to get to this chart more often, this is going to be, you know, they're going to have much better chance for this to come up. And then when it does come up, they're going to have more damage. So just wanted to point this out to you here real quick. So I think we're going to wrap this up. It's already gone 29 whopping minutes. Really got to learn to cut these down. I'll keep trying. So hopefully you got a little bit of insight on the tag team ratings and kind of what makes wrestling's finest go when it comes to tag team matches, and mainly the styles. Just keep in mind each team is rated on their style, their moveset, just like it is in singles. The differences are how important the outside help strategy card is, the tag team ratings. You get two of them. First one's from basically 26 to 35, the higher the better. And then you have a double team rating, which is from, I think, 5 to 10, 10 being the best. That will, when you look at those ratings, it will give you a good indication which tag team has the advantage going, into the match. And again, teams that were established teams that wrestled, long periods together, had success winning championships and so forth, they are going to perform, in the long term, perform way better than teams that were, maybe great individual wrestlers, but they just didn't have the experience together as a tag team. And I really do believe Wrestling's Finest captures that aspect very, very well. So thanks again for joining me. I'm going to try to cut these down in the future. Appreciate the feedback I've received, and if you have any topics you'd like me to cover, you can post them under one of these videos, or I believe my email might be up there, and if not, just post it in the comments and I can try to accommodate you. Thank you, everyone, and I hope your day's going great and it continues to be great. Thank you.